welcome back. It's Carrie and this is Keep It Simple DIY. Do I have a treat for you today? I am collaborating with Sara from Brown Family Goods and we are each going to be making an amazing sourdough recipe. She is going to be making sourdough biscuits and I am going to be making a sourdough brioche cinnamon twist. It's like a fun take on a cinnamon roll. And it's a brioche bread because the bread has been enriched. And to enrich your bread, you could use eggs or flour or oil, quite a few different things to give it a more of a softer type of dough. And so today we've got maple syrup and we've got milk and we have eggs and we have butter that we're going to be adding to this dough.
Hey there, friend. I am Sara over at Brown Family Goods on YouTube, where I share about meal planning for two, gardening here in the Deep South, being a farmer's market vendor, and caring for our flock of over 100 birds. Today, I'm making some delicious sourdough biscuits, and I'm using those to top up my skillet chicken pot pie. These are both great options for freezer meal planning, so if you like that, come on over after you watch Carrie's video, and I'll show you exactly how I do it. See you then.
This dough has a little bit of a project to it to get it going. So we will need to put in 250 grams of starter, 500 grams of flour, 2 eggs, a cup of milk, a few tablespoons of maple syrup, teaspoon and a half of salt, and a stick of butter. So the butter will go in last. We'll mix that in little by little as we're kneading it. We are going to be kneading this dough and we're going to be doing stretch and folds. So a little bit different of a process than we typically would do, and then we will be letting it cold ferment in the fridge overnight. So let's get started. Let's put 250 grams of starter in here. It's a lot of starter, I know, but we're gonna do it. I've already taired my scale and I have my KitchenAid mixing bowl ready to go. Well, I got too much in there already. We're at 278, so let me pull a little bit back out. We're close, 256. Okay, we're there. Now I'm going to re-tare the scale and put 500 grams of flour. 1 cup that I just put in was 193. So we're looking probably like 2.5, 2 3/4 cups. And that wasn't a full cup that I just grabbed. We're almost there. Whoop, 508, take a little bit out. You guys, it doesn't actually have to be perfect. It'll work out just fine either way. So now, let's add salt, maple syrup, just use that same finger, milk, and eggs. And let's get over to the mixer. All right, I am going to get this on to speed 4, and I'm going to be putting in 1 tablespoon at a time, and then we will let this go for a total of 5 minutes on speed 4, then we'll scrape down the sides, go for another 2 minutes. After that, we'll lower the notch, go for 1.5 minutes, lower the notch again, go for 1.5 minutes. So, cue it up. Scrape it down. And we'll go 2 more minutes. All right, I ran into a little bit of an issue here. And my dough is really sticky, which is interesting. It was supposed to come into a full ball and it's quite sticky here. So I'm like, did I screw up something? I'm going to add a little bit of flour to this just because I can tell that it needs it, and then I will let it run for a little bit more and we'll be back when hopefully this is not a sticky mess. All right, I ended up adding like a quarter, maybe a little over a quarter of flour, and this is what I've got. It's still not one dough ball, but also this recipe is requiring coil folds, and I know that you use coil folds when your dough is more of a loose dough, so it probably was right before, but the verbiage on the recipe was just a little bit weird. We're gonna go with this right in the middle. I have made cinnamon rolls a ton of times, so this is still more wet than my typical cinnamon roll dough. But what I'm gonna do is I am just going to take this bowl out, let it sit for a while, and then we'll be back to do our stretch and folds. All right, I did end up transferring the dough out to a different bowl, and I'm gonna come in here and do coil folds. And the way I'm going to do that is by coming right up in the middle of the dough, and we're gonna lift it up and just kind of like throw it over. So this is a little different of a technique than a regular stretch and fold because the dough is a little bit wet, which I did add flour. I probably shouldn't have, but it'll turn out just fine. Coil fold, we'll do one more. Okay, I am going to do this 2 more times. I'm gonna let it sit for an hour, coil fold, sit for an hour, coil fold, and then I'm gonna stick it in the fridge, and I will see you tomorrow. Our dough, my same voice today, every time. Our dough has risen beautifully. It's been in the fridge overnight. I'm going to lightly flour my surface, and then the goal is to get this dough to be about the full size of this sheet. Okay, I think I've gotten it about as close as I can, and now I'm just going to add this mixture on just 2/3 of the dough. You know, my brown sugar was frozen, so that might be making this a little bit more complicated. Okay, that's about as good as I'm going to get it. So what we're going to do, unlike traditional cinnamon rolls where at this point we would roll it up, we're actually going to fold it into thirds. So I'm going to start by folding the third that doesn't have any of the mixture onto the other portion. And then we're going to fold the same side one more time. Okay, now we are going to slice this into about 12 pieces, but before we do that, I actually want to turn this over, and I just want to seal the edge a little bit. It didn't say to do that in the recipe, but I just want to do that. I also think I want to flatten it just a little bit. We're going rogue here. Okay, let me grab a cutter. I think I've decided just on a knife because this dough is kind of thick. So I am going to cut this into equal portions. It said to discard the ends. Now I'm not going to do that because they're going to taste just as good as the middle pieces. So we are going to go about this far. I switched out for a pizza cutter. It's going much better. The only thing a little concerning is that I'm cutting over the silicone mat, but worst case scenario is I actually cut the silicone mat and then I get a new one. Okay. So at this point, we have quite a few options for how we want to shape them. So I will shape one and walk you through it, and then I'll bring you in close and show you again. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to cut this piece of dough into 3 strips, but I'm going to leave the top about 1 inch available. Okay, I've cut into 3, I've left the top intact, and then we are just going to simply braid this. We're going to pinch the ends, and then we're going to roll it, starting with the end that we kept intact. And then we'll get it on a pan to start rising. Okay, here's one that I've cut, left the top intact already. We're going to just do a simple braid. And then roll it up. Another way you could do this is just cut it into 2 pieces and not all the way up. And then we'll do the same type of a thing, only just twist it. And then instead of rolling it up like this, we're going to twist it into a circle and pinch it together. So I'm going to get the rest of these done, and then they need to proof for about 2 hours, quite a while, and then we can get to baking them. I'm currently preheating the oven to 480 degrees, which is extremely high, but as soon as it's preheated, I'm going to put the rolls in and immediately drop it down to 400, which is good because my parchment paper won't last very long at 480 degrees. Hopefully it lasts long enough. But here are the rolls. They've proofed and now they're very, very soft and squishy. And so they look delicious. Now, the recipe does say to put an egg wash that has some syrup on it on top. I'm not going to do that because I don't want a crispy edge. I'd rather it be a nice soft edge and then drizzle a glaze over it. So we are just going to leave them like this and we'll be getting them in there to bake. Okay, they just came out of the oven. They look fantastic. They smell fantastic. The hard part now is waiting till they cool off a little bit to give them a try. Okay, here are the final ones. I only had enough icing to barely ice these ones, but I figured that's fine because if I want to put a cream cheese icing on it, I have a few left. So what I'm going to do is I am going to let these cool completely and then I'm going to freeze them because we can't eat this many before they get stale and because I like to have my freezer prepped with some different foods for different meals. So this will be part of my breakfast freezer meal collection. You could also freeze them at the dough stage and then bake them fresh. I chose to bake them all today just because then I can just take them out and microwave them. But if you wanted to freeze them while they're still in dough form, you could freeze them either before or after they've proofed and just make a note on if they've proofed or not. If they have proofed, stick them straight into the oven or the air fryer. And if they haven't proofed yet, take them out, let them rest until they thaw and have about 2 hours to proof, and then you're good to go. All right, I've given it about, a minute and a half to cool off. That's about all I could stand, but I'm going to get some glaze on it. Here they are. They turned out beautifully. And ideally, I would love to have a cream cheese frosting on here, but I am out of cream cheese. I'm still in the middle of a pantry challenge. And this is the same glaze that I use on my zucchini bread. So I'm just going to drizzle this nicely over the top. Maybe add some more. Why not? This looks fantastic. I can't wait to give it a try. Let's give it a try. All right, let's give this thing a try. This is so good. I think if you didn't want to go through the trouble of making the braids, just add the filling on the whole thing, roll it like cinnamon rolls, and make it into cinnamon rolls. This is amazing. I have another cinnamon roll recipe that I really like for non-sourdough cinnamon rolls, so I think just depending on how much time there is to prep. These do take a lot longer to prep than my other ones, but they are equally as delicious, and they're a little different because they've got sourdough and they definitely don't have the processed yeast. Now, don't forget, I am collaborating with Sara from Brown Family Goods on this video. She is making biscuits, and I made her recipe yesterday, and they're fantastic. There's only 4 left out of all of them that I made. So definitely go check her out. Her link is down in the description below. All right, you guys, don't forget to go check out Sara at Brown Family Goods. She is going to be making these sourdough biscuits. So I think we should give it a try. This is her recipe. I need honey. The honey is telling me I should finish talking to you before eating any more of these These are delicious. Make sure you go check her out. Sara at Brown Family Goods. I'll have her linked below. I'm very happy that she decided to collaborate with me. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here and haven't yet, please subscribe. I'd love to see you here on the regular, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. I like that it has more crispy edges than a regular cinnamon roll. And the inside's super soft. I'm also glad I didn't put like the egg wash on it. I feel like this texture is perfect, and that would have been a little weird.